Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Young Black Equestrians, the podcast. Today's interview is with my sorority sister, Ashley Nash. She's 27 years old and has accomplished a lot. She's a published author, she's a counselor. She founded Not All Scars Heal, which stands for her last name, Nash. She is a co-facilitator for It Takes a Village, and that is a group for young African Americans to freely discuss mental health. She's a public speaker and a mental health advocate. Like, what doesn't she do? While she isn't an equestrian, this episode is important for us to openly discuss mental health in the Black community. Ashley is so in love with mental health and has found positive coping skills for her own mental health in this journey. She lives by the quote, "Be that person you needed when you were younger." We are so grateful to speak with her, as this is another step closer to normalizing mental health care. Give us feedback about this episode and your personal mental health journey. Enjoy.
You are listening to Young Black Equestrians, the podcast, with your hosts, Abriana Johnson and Caitlin Gooch.
We've been starting off each episode with just kind of telling each other what we're thankful for today. So if you want to share something that you are thankful for today.
Sure. I am thankful for good health within my family.
Mm-hmm.
And good physical health.
That's good. Sometimes we can take that for granted.
Yes. What about you, Abriana? What are you thankful for?
I am thankful for, I guess, networking opportunities. Were you thankful for that last week, Caitlin? I feel like you were. I'm not trying to copy you, but
okay.
Just today. I can be thankful for that today. Just networking opportunities that just continue to open up doors for other things. So I appreciate it. That's what I'm thankful for.
Awesome. I'm thankful for having elders in the family who are still, up and kicking it. My uncle mentioned today he had asked everyone that was in the room that was over 70 to stand up. And then he was like, everybody else who's sitting down, look around because they are blessings. And he was just saying, don't take your blessings for granted. So I'm thankful for my elders.
That is the truth.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, Nash, if you want to just start by kind of telling us a little bit about yourself and what your background is, and then we'll kind of get into our big discussion.
Okay. So, I guess in the grand scheme of things, who I am, currently a PhD student majoring in counselor education, and I work as an academic counselor and a supervisor at a community-based counseling center, and a mentor at the Chancellor's Leadership Development Program. And I'm not doing any of that. I'm trying to shoot out another novel too. I'm actually working on a children's series, trying to teach children how to vocalize and show their different types of feelings and emotions to their elders, to their guardians. Because I feel like that's a big misstep to where they aren't allowed to, or they don't really know how to express themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then that can come off as them not, knowing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of, I was seeing an uptake in younger generations committing suicide. And so that's kind of where it stemmed from. Because I feel as though if we taught them at a younger age how to express what's going on and how they're feeling, then that wouldn't be necessarily an option all the time.
Right. Okay, fellow author, I see you.
I dabble, sometimes.
Yeah, that's cool. So what school are you getting your PhD at?
North Carolina State University.
Oh, okay. And fellow Wolfpack. I see
Hey!
you. This is perfect. Well, that is pretty cool. So what kind of put you on that path? Everybody has a life experience that puts them kind of on the path to what they feel is important. What was that for you?
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
Survival in the grand scheme of things. Surviving childhood sexual abuse. I've had 4 suicide attempts in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Just I have bipolar depression now, generalized anxiety disorder, and I have post-traumatic stress disorder. So just like knowing that this world can be such a corrupt, evil place, it can kind of like damage you to a sense of wanting to not be here, feeling that needs, okay, if I tried 4 times, I have to be doing something else with all of this pain that I'm feeling, so I need to pour it into something else.
Right.
And kind of counseling fell into my lap. Like my sophomore year of undergrad, I was actually a journalism major initially, and then I went to my first psychology class, and I was like, whoa, like my idea of counseling and therapy was totally different from what it actually is. And so like I fell in love. I switched my major, and it's been ongoing.
So I know in the Black community in general, there is like mental health. It's getting better, but just the conversation about it is a bit taboo.
Yeah.
You know, between the reliance upon like religion, like just pray about it kind of situation, versus just being in denial of the kind of the root cause of whatever emotional trauma or mental trauma that someone might experience. Like you said, like some sort of sexual abuse. What do you think is kind of the best way to go about creating that normal conversation or surrounding mental health?
The best way to, I think, start creating it is to honestly know how to bring it up without feeling guilty about it. So right now, and it's a lot easier said than that, but I co-facilitate a group on Facebook for young African Americans to just openly discuss mental health, like in that form, to kind of that community, because we're so torn between, as a Black community, we're so torn between either what happens in this house stays in this house, or it takes a village. And so just trying to merge both of those thinking I feel like the younger generation, they're starting to understand more, and that conversation that door is creaking open. And so we have to pour that into our older generation. But, our elders, especially,
yeah, you can't tell them nothing.
Convince them.
Can't tell them nothing.
They solid in their ways, and so it takes a lot of convincing. But I feel like the more that we arm our younger generation with the confidence to start the discussion, the more it's going to be able to believe in our community to be, yeah, you can have religion, you can pray to God, but God ended my heart to become a counselor and a therapist, so he wouldn't be, directing me towards this path if it wasn't something that you could buy into.
Right. I guess my next question is just about some misconceptions that you've experienced as a counselor about mental health, kind of like what it is, what its effect on a person. What are some of those misconceptions that you've come across?
That it's basically bogus, and people are just paying therapists, paying for a friend, and like things of that nature. That just not fully grasping the power of the mind, and understanding how that can manifest into like physical things, interacting, and like how your behavior is, and how it's a domino effect where it starts in the way that you think.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to understand, even maybe because I'm biased, but it's hard to understand how someone can question the way someone thinks to the point of no one is kind of welcoming in mental health issues. No one is opening the door to depression. No one says that I want to have these feelings of, worthlessness or helplessness. So I don't, the misconception is more so that I get a lot of people saying, oh, this is for attention.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is just following a trend. And I would say that as it's becoming more talkative and social media aspects, it can sometimes be picked up as a trend to say, oh, this small inconvenience happened and someone manifests that instead of them having depression of that nature. So I feel like there needs to be a deeper understanding of the level of intensity attached to things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just displaced on every inconvenience.
Right. Yes, I completely agree. Because, I feel like there was like a shift. Like there's, let's start talking about mental health. Oh, it exists. It's not a bogus thing. Let's start carrying this conversation. And then you have people kind of taking a little bit of advantage of that. And then so now there's skepticism about it. Like, are you for real? Or is this just attention-seeking behavior? When there's really people out here, dealing with real stuff. So now that people are believing or is coming a little bit more normalized, there's always that skepticism now. Like, oh, they're not for real. Like, they're just doing that for attention. So, I feel like that's the case with any kind of, like, new topic, whether it be mental health or, financial success, Instagram, fame, anything new that is kind of becoming the norm. It kind of has that teetering point where it's like, okay, no, that ain't it. And then the people that are really experiencing it have yet another battle to deal with now that what they are experiencing is kind of out in the open. So.
Right. Especially, since we are talking about the Black household and Black community, when it's people our age, saying that they finally got help and they're diagnosed with this, and this, and then their family is possibly looking at them like, well, you pretty much had your everything given to you in life.
Yeah, what could you possibly struggle with? Yep.
Yeah, and they're like, well, what's the problem? And that doesn't help the situation because, like Nash, like you said in the beginning, when we were younger, we might not have known how to express what it was that we're feeling to our elders, just because I'm not going to say all of them held things over our head, but just because we just didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's almost like, as a child, like, you didn't deserve to have those feelings because you ain't worked hard enough to have, like...
like, how are you tired? What do you mean you can't get out of bed?
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. And that's just... I feel like that is a generational thing. It goes all the way back to, like, our parents, having to work so hard. Like, you have the audacity to, feel a certain way when they didn't get that leisure.
Slaves and...
Exactly. So they didn't have the same leisure to have those feelings, or they didn't feel like they did anyway. So,
for me, how I describe it, like, for the generational aspect, like, sometimes we're the seed and sometimes we're the fruit. Like, we're the fruit of having better opportunities, like education-wise. We're the fruit of being able to have multiple streams of income. Like, we're the fruit of that nature. But we're planting the seed for that open conversation for mental health. So I can talk to my nephews about, hey, you're bullying? Let me tell you, let's talk about the effect that your bullying can have on that person. And I can break it down to him, and so he can grow into saying, oh, you know what, let me be mindful about the feelings of other people.
Yeah. And I feel like that approach, I mean, I love that, the fruit and the seed. I feel like that approach will have a more, like, resounding effect on people, especially in the case of bullying. Like, when you kind of break it down and say, you know, some of these bullying campaigns, it's like, don't bully. Bullying's bad. Well, why is it bad? You know, most bullies have something in their life that they are trying to, you know, deflect from or handle internally. You know, how about we talk about what's going on with you and why that creates that kind of behavior? 'Cause, I mean, little kid bullies turn into adult bullies, and you know, there's a root to everything.
Now little kid bullies are, you know, finding big kid guns and shooting up schools.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That too. So as kind of a African American woman going into this field, what are some challenges that you face, whether it be, you know, in understanding and trying to convey your message?
It's definitely the challenge of, you know, Black women are innately strong. You know, we're supposed to be stronger, basically upheld to the standard of being the strongest gender, sex, ethnicity group in the world. We're supposed to just kind of like get over the mistreatment of not only society as a whole, but even mistreatment within our own community, and just kind of roll over and run with it. And so it's always the misconception that if I'm in this world and I'm being vocal about why, then I'm less strong. But I've already dealt with those demons growing up, and so I feel no sense of holding on to that fake standard. And so that's fine. Maneuvering in this white world of counseling, mental health, and academia, because I'm in pursuit of being a professor, that it can become difficult to navigate. But the more that I've been down this path, it's kind of like, you know what? I don't have to prove why I'm in this room, because my presence in this room is my proof.
Right.
So I'm not going above the board to tell you, oh, I deserve to be here. Choose me. Look at me. I don't have to dance. You know, in the sense of being a little, not cocky, but check the resume. You know, I don't have to dance for you anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice. That's how I feel sometimes. when I'm in a situation where I'm in other veterinary professionals, especially if they already know like who I am, and there's some people who don't, I'm like, oh, hey girl. Like, oh yeah, I've been here. What? I'm like, I don't have to tell you why I'm here, or, you know, show you my credentials. Like, these people know who I am. I completely agree. So, what is your PhD on?
Counselor education.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if I don't know much about like science PhDs.
Oh yeah, you're fine, because if you start asking about like biological science, I can't help you.
Yeah.
So more power to you.
How far along are you in the PhD program?
Year 2.
Oh, dang. Is it 2 of 4 or 3?
It's 4.
Okay.
Just the last year is like dissertation writing. So.
What is your favorite part of what you do now?
Being a superhero. Um, is definitely my favorite part. To get a client. I love trauma, and I love clients in crisis, and it sounds so weird and kind of like morbid even, but it happens. And so to be able to get a client that's like on the edge of like, I don't want to do this anymore, and to be able to like walk them back from that and like turn them around, I'll we don't get paid enough for what we do, but it's just, I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah. And I mean, I know you say you love trauma, but I think it's like, it's the reward of that. You know, if you got somebody that's just like skating by, like they're just chilling, and then you know, you have a conversation, it might not feel as though you've done as much work as in, you know, compared to somebody who is on the edge and you know, turn them completely around. And that's just the reward of that. I can understand that from a medical point of view. Like if you got a patient crashing and then you keep them alive, that feels much better than, you know, a patient that just itching and now they don't itch. So
I love them all, but yeah, it's those do or dies. Like, okay.
Yeah, literally. Literally.
And even indirectly, Nash, you have helped people. I mean, with the book, and then you started Not All Scars Heal, which opened up, you know, more conversations, because me and you, we have like mutual social media friends. So I see, you know, I see people sharing, I see people opening up and taking what you are posting in consideration, just because you're being transparent about your journey and how far you have come. And then even with me, I've probably been messaging you for like a year about where I can find a therapist, and this year I finally found one. So even indirectly, you are a superhero still.
Oh, thank you.
Aww. That's so nice. So let's talk about the book. What is the name of the book, or it's a series?
No. So I have 2 novels out right now.
Okay.
My latest one is The Miseducation of the Privileged, and it's basically surrounded by, it's not a real word, but in a sense, rehumanizing the homeless community. And so I've seen a lot, well, during that time, because I had a stint, so I wasn't homeless, but I couch hopped. And so that put a lot of things in perspective for me, and how like quickly your comfort can kind of be snatched from me. And so that opened my eyes into looking into the homeless community, and just going to have conversations with them, and we'll share meals together, and just their path of how they got to where they are is so, it can be so different from what you see on TV.
Right.
And it's not just always, hey, I got addicted to drugs and I lost everything, or I became an alcoholic and I lost everything. Like, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck. And, you know, and they're like one bad sneeze away, you know, one hospital visit away from being in those circumstances. And so it's like being able to open them up as a person again, and say, I had a whole life before this. Like, you know, this is just a part that you see me in, but you don't know how I got here. You can't be presumptuous and, you know, how I became the person that you're looking at.
Right. That's cool. And what is the second one about?
Words for Warning. It's about a suicide. Well, it's about a award-winning spoken word artist who committed suicide. And so it's her friends and her family, anybody close to her, going back and saying, okay, where did I miss? Like, what was what was the outcry? Like, how did I miss her going through this? And then so them finding out that she was, like, performing her poetry, that was her way of crying out for help, and they just kind of applauded it as entertainment, and they didn't really indulge in what she was saying.
Mm-hmm. Are you self-published, or did you have a publisher?
I am self-published for my first one, so Words for Warning is self-published. And then I have a publisher for the Education of the Privilege. Carolina Shotwell Publishing.
Okay. How did you go about choosing a publisher and kind of going through that process?
It's so weird because she chose me. I didn't know it.
Aww.
I didn't know that she was a publisher or anything like that. We were just social media friends, and I was working on a novel, and she saw that I was working on a novel, and she reached out to me like, "Hey, girl," and it's a Black woman, and she reached out to me and was like, "Hey, girl, I'm a publisher. Like, let's work." I was like, "What?" And it was like, "Okay, yeah, let's work."
Oh, that's cool. That is cool. So what is it about your book that you kind of share on social media? Like, is it like the research component about it, or just kind of, hey y'all, I'm writing a book about this?
It's more so like what the content of it is, and so I'll randomly release like a couple pages from a chapter, and it just to kind of catch how intense some of the reading is, and how transparent, in the sense of not necessarily my journey, but the real journey of a lot of people.
Right. That is awesome. I bet that kind of captivates people in a very quick way, you know, because I enjoy reading. I don't do as much reading as I would like to, but you know, a few pages is enough to kind of get somebody hooked into a book.
I'll be trying.
So what advice do you have for like aspiring mental health professionals?
Know why you're getting into it. Know intuitively why you're getting into this field, because you're not gonna make a lot of money. You're gonna have to work your ass off. You're gonna have to do thousands of clinical hours. You're gonna have to do at least 10 plus years after you graduate high school, more of like further education. And so if you're really gonna commit to this, you need to know why. Because this is not a field that you can not know yourself in, because just all of the stories and the energies that we are attacked to on a day-to-day basis, like if you're not intuitive, if you don't know yourself and know why you're in front of that person, then you can get lost in the stories of all of their baggage and their trauma, and you take that home with you. And some of the things that I've heard from some of my clients, it's just like, you can't take on all of that. You have to know your role in maneuvering their journey.
Right.
And so if you don't know your role, you don't know why you're there, then you will get swallowed.
Yeah. That's some good sound advice.
Yes, and on the flip side of that, what would you say to those of us who struggle with our own mental health, and those who have friends and family that they might notice some things and they just want to be able to reach out and let somebody know that they're there whenever they're ready to talk?
I would say to make it a normal conversation. Just like asking the person what they want to eat for dinner. I feel like our approach is so tiptoey because it's such a sensitive topic, and we try to figure out how to dance around it. But if we just, hey, all right, bro, yo, let's go have a couple of drinks, kick that, talk about what's going on. And then just in that situation, just in that conversation, you find out so much. And it's like, what's wrong? So let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it should just be natural. It won't be automatically natural, but it should feel as natural as just asking someone what they want to eat, because it's that important.
Mm-hmm.
The same way that you want to make sure that their body, their physical is well fed and well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
The body, the person is a whole entity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. That's awesome. Alrighty. Caitlin, do you have any other questions?
I'm thinking before you hang up, and then I'm like, oh, I got another question.
Yeah. I got one. I'm gonna just keep asking you, what are you gonna say to them? What would you say to them? What would you say to them? Anyway.
You're fine.
For individuals that are having issues kind of opening up to others, because I mean, if you ask somebody like, how's everything going? Is everything fine? A lot of people will say, oh yeah, I'm fine. Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Guilty of that.
Same. So what advice do you have for those people who have or struggle with opening up to other people, whether they know that they're have an internal struggle or not, because some people are in denial themselves, What advice do you have for people that struggle to be vulnerable like that?
My advice would probably be to kind of look at how vulnerable you already are.
Mm-hmm.
Look at, how frankly you give like your body to people, or not saying in the sense of like you're a hoe, but just in the sense of look how frankly you give certain aspects of yourself to people. If you trust them to, take care of even if it's like your best friend is watching your kids, if you trust them to take care of your kids, as a friend, as a sister, as a brother, as a mom, as a dad, like if you have that much trust in them, then what's stopping you to say, okay, I can be today is not, and it doesn't have to be some automatic, no, I feel like I'm suicidal, I feel like everything's going that shit wrong. It can be like, today wasn't my best day.
Mm-hmm.
And going, it doesn't have to be from 0 to 100.
Right.
It doesn't need to be.
Right.
That is really solid advice, because even like sometimes I just don't feel like describing my day all over again.
Right.
If somebody asks.
Mm-hmm.
And I might just be like, somebody like, how was your day? I've become to hate that question just because I say the same thing over and over. It has nothing to do with them asking. It's just, I'm like, okay, well, it's the end of the day, and I'm going to just tell you that it was an okay day, or I was fine, or whatever, and not talk about those things instead of, like you just said, like, it wasn't really the best day, like, that would be so simple.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of times that, like my routine is I talk to my mom like every day. It's usually after I get off work. But then you talk to a friend and then talk to like a boo, and like all three people ask the same question. It's like, like, you know what? By the end of it, you're like, oh, it was good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over. But yeah, I completely understand that, Caitlin. But
you don't have to rehash your day with everybody all the time. You can pick and choose.
Mm-hmm.
You can pick and choose that one person to kind of pour into for that day. And not have to, everybody else can, all right, I'm fine. Because you already got it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Well, I'm glad we were able to talk with you, and I hope that.
Oh, wait! I got another question.
Yes, I'm happy.
Have you ever integrated animal-assisted therapy in your counseling programs?
Okay, so yes. When I was first starting off as a counselor, I would actually take the girls to, I know listen, I can't pronounce the E word, but I took them to work with horses.
Equestrian?
Therapy. Yes.
Oh, like, the E word.
I see it in my head. I'm like, no, I'm not going to mispronounce that. That's disrespectful for who I'm talking to. I'm not going to, I'm just going to ask.
Yeah, so you would take them to hang out with horses?
Yes. I never got up there, pro one myself, but they loved it. And I was, okay.
That is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I was like, I don't know if that's how Caitlin knows her or what, but I am going in November to be assessed with my miniature horse. I have a little mini horse, to be part of the Pet Partners program. And I guess our primary goal is to participate in more like educational kinds of therapy, like reading and, teaching people about horses, stuff like that. And then kind of like a physical therapy component, like fine motor skills and things like that. Just because of the nature of horses, I'm trying to stay away from hospitals, definitely. And but I haven't made a decision, and I would just need to get kind of more contacts in the mental health field as far as what I think the horse would be comfortable with. Because in this training program, handler training, we have to go through situations like, if you walk past someone sitting on a bench and they reach out and just grab the horse's tail and pull it, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, okay, I don't think I want to put the animal in that situation, because it's, at the end of the day, it's just an animal. They're gonna react in their natural instinct, and that just creates a bad situation for everybody. So, I know that's just one. I mean, you have to be kind of rated for different situations, and so a mental health capacity is more of a complex situation versus a predictable situation. So we get assessed in November to see if we're going to be rated as complex or predictable. So I'm kind of excited about that. This whole animal assist. I have a friend that's getting a PhD on animal assisted activities and therapies. So I like how that section of the mental health field is kind of expanding. I mean, just because I have a personal vested interest in it.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I'm glad that you have some experience with that, because I think it's pretty cool.
I do that.
Nash and I are sorority sisters. That's how we know each other.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there's that. That makes sense.
But that doesn't mean we won't work together in the future with the horses and...
I know. We got connects now.
Clients.
Yeah. We got whole connects. Networking. Thankful for it.
Okay. Full circle.
Full circle. Well, thank you so much. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but that was...
Thank you all for having me.
Fantastic episode, and hopefully our listeners will learn something from it.
Thank you for listening to Young Black Equestrians, the podcast. Be sure sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for updates. Listen, rate, and review us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Tune in next week for another episode.